Okay.
And all right, Hare Krishna, we are live.
Hare Krishna. Let me share my screen real quick, and we shall start our Srimad, our study of the songs of the Vaishnav Acharyas. This is Jagannath Ashtakam. Um, the and it was written by actually Sankaracharya, but it was spoken by Lord Chaitanya, and he liked this song very much. And we just sing that today because today is New Vrindavan Rath Yatra. Last week was Rath Yatra in Puri, and then we will, yeah, it was very nice. So everyone can remain unmuted and repeat. Shambhu Brahma Mara Patigameshwara Chitapado Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. Sabievenum sirasi siki picham kotitate dukulam netrante sahara kathaksham vidhadate Sadha Srimad Vrindavana Vasati Leela Parichayo Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Tume Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Mahambodestire Kanaka Ruchire Nila Shikhare Vasan Prasadhanta Sahaja Bhala Bhadrena Vadina Subhadra Madhyastaha Sakala Sura Sevas Vasarado Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume Kripa Paravarasa Jalada Shreni Ruchiro Kripa Paravarasa Jalada Shreni Ruchiro Ramavani Ramaspurada Mala Pankeru Hanuka Ramavani Ramaspurada panke Guhamuka Surendra ira raja Shruti ganasika Gita charita Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Radharudha Gachan Padmilita Budeva Patalai Radharudha Gachan Padmilita Budeva Patalai Stutir Pradhurbhavam Pratipadamupakanya Sadaya Stuti Pradhurbhavam Pratipadamupakanya Sadaya Daya Sindhu Bandhu Shakala Jagatan Sindhu Sutaya Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Para Brahma Pidaha Kubalaya Dalot Fulanayano Para Brahma Pidaha Kubalaya Dalot Fulanayano Nivasi Niladro Nihita Charonananta Sirasi Nivasi Niladro Nihita Charonananta Sirasi Rasananda Radha Sarasa Vapura Lingana Sukha Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Navaya Cherajam Nachakana Kamanikya Vibhavam Nayache Aham Ramyam Sakala Janakam Yambaradhu Sada Kale Kale Pramata Patina Gita Charita Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Haratvam Samsaram Drutataramashara Surapate Haratvam Papanam Vitate Maparam Yadavapate Aho Dine Nate Nihita Charano Nistamidam Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Baba Tume Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So we can read the translation of this very auspicious song. I can read the first one, and devotees can take turns reading the next ones. Sometimes, in great happiness, Lord Jagannath makes a loud concert with his flute in the groves on the banks of the Yamuna. He is like a bumblebee, tasting the beautiful lotus-like faces of the cowherd damsels of Braja, and great personalities such as Lakshmi, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Ganesha worship his lotus feet. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision. Does someone want to volunteer to read number 2?
For it. Number 2. In his left hand, Lord Jagannath holds a flute. On his head, he wears peacock feathers. And on his hips, he wears fine yellow silken cloth. From the corners of his eyes, he bestows sidelong glances upon his loving devotees, and he always reveals himself through his pastimes in his divine abode of Vrindavan. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision.
On the shore of the great ocean, within a large palace atop the brilliant golden Nilachala hill, Lord Jagannath resides with his powerful brother Balbhadra and his sister Subhadra, who sits between them. May the Jagannath Swami, who bestow the opportunity for devotional service upon all godly soul, be the object of my vision.
Number 4, anyone?
Lord Jagannath is an ocean of mercy and as beautiful as a row of blackish rain clouds. He is the storehouse of bliss for Lakshmi and Sarasvati, and his face resembles a spotless, full-blown lotus. The best of demigods and sages worship him, and the Upanishads sing his glories. May the Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision.
Anyone?
When Lord Jagannath moves along the road on his Rath Yatra car, at every step, large assemblies of Brahmanas loudly chant prayers and sing songs of his pleasure. Hearing their hymns, Lord Jagannath becomes very favorably disposed towards them. He is the ocean of mercy and the true friend of all the worlds. May the Jagannath Swami, along with his consort Lakshmi, who was born from the ocean of nectar, be the object of my vision.
Lord Jagannath, whose eyes resemble full-blown lotus petals, is the ornament on Lord Brahma's head. He resides on Nilachala hill with his lotus feet placed on the head of Anantadev. Overwhelmed by mellows of love, he joyfully embraces Srimati Radharani's body, which is like a cool pond. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision. 7.
I do not pray for a kingdom, nor do I pray for gold, rubles, or wealth. I do not ask for a beautiful wife as desired by all men. I simply pray that Jagannath Swami, whose glories Lord Shiva always sings, may be the constant object of my vision.
I want to read the next one.
O Lord of the demigods, please quickly remove this useless material existence I am undergoing. O Lord of the Yadus, please destroy the vast, shoreless ocean of sins. Alas, this is certain Lord Jagannath bestows his lotus feet upon those who feel themselves fallen and have no shelter in this world but him. May that Jagannath Swami be the object of my vision.
And this is the Falashruti, the fruit of what we've just read. Does someone want to retain that, to say that? Or I can recite it. The self-trained, virtuous soul who recites these 8 verses glorifying Lord Jagannath becomes cleansed of all sins and duly proceeds to Lord Vishnu's abode. Hari Hari Bol! Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on this? I see our esteemed guest, Siddha Hari Prabhu, has joined us, and we are very excited to have him. But we'll take 2 minutes to have any reflections or comments or questions about this song. If anybody has any thoughts on it.
I just love that many places the reference of his eyes is given. The big bloom lotus like eyes, and that's the first feature in Lord Jagannath. Wherever we take his darshan, and just from his eyes, he doesn't have eyelids. It's a lot of just talks given on his eyes. That how he just don't want to even miss that one single micromillisecond to close the eyes and not see his devotees. And here also it says, and that's why I don't know, maybe that's the reason, but at the end of every version it's like my vision, be the object of my vision. So we want to reciprocate also by just keep seeing Lord Jagannath and meditate on his form.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's true. His eyes are. Yeah, I would say Hare Krishna for modern technology. If now for no other reason except that there was we can see the video of the Ratha Yatra, even though we're not physically present in Puri. I was watching last Sunday or Saturday of the Ratha Yatra in Puri, and I got to see Lord Jagannath. And you think that like. You see this a lot in our tradition that in Vedic society, you think the Bhagavad Gita is a very spiritual book, philosophical book. It would be spoken in a very quiet place under a tree. But the most important text, Bhagavad Gita, was spoken on a battlefield, very loud and it showed how the conch shells, and you'd think a very sacred ceremony like Ratha Yatra would be very quiet and very intimate. But it even says in the song that large assemblies of Brahmanas chant prayers and sing songs for his pleasure. And if you look at the Puri Ratha Yatra, the signs I was seeing was they had big, there were at least 15 or I think maybe 15 to 50 people were all playing these big gongs in succession. People were blowing conch shells. There are like millions of people on the road. Of course, now due to COVID, they've limited it. But back before pre-2020, they were like, you can just see, and they look like little like dots on the screen. But each one of those persons is a people. And, so it shows that, Jagannath likes when the Supreme Lord comes out and reciprocates with his devotees, he likes a big festival where everybody gets prasadam and, loud kirtan and it's really, really beautiful like that. Does anybody else have any other thoughts on this? I know that the New Vrindavan and Ratha Yatra is today, and you guys will be able to experience a taste of that. And I think August to 13th or something is Detroit Ratha Yatra. You can come experience that. There's many Ratha Yatras happening around the country nowadays.
What I thought you said.
I think Detroit is also in just today, tomorrow, or in this week.
No, August.
It's in August.
Okay, some other event.
If not, we will continue to our next part of the program, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And this week we have a really special speaker, one of my favorite speakers, He's spoken on our sanghas on many times. Once about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, once about from the Bhagavatam itself. So this week we have His Grace Siddha Hari Prabhu. Siddha Hari Prabhu is a monk who's been practicing Krishna consciousness for over a decade. He came to the U.S. to pursue a PhD, and from the University of Michigan, and then he came across the Hare Krishna devotees, and then he left the PhD program and completely dedicated himself to Krishna consciousness. Now he's staying in a farm, which is a beautiful farm. I know because Bhakta Dylan was just here and he was telling me about the farm. So he stays in a farm about 30 minutes outside of Ann Arbor. And he's really, they're really doing groundbreaking work of growing their own vegetables and having their own cows and getting milk from those cows and cow protection. You know, Srila Prabhupada, we hear how many times Srila Prabhupada emphasized that to be self-sufficient, and they're really making leaps and bounds to that effort. And and he's all day at the farm and he's working and he's serving so nicely there. And when he gets a little bit of free time, he's also working on a service defending the Puranas and Vedic positions in modern academic and scientific context. And he has other two books, The Big Bang and the Sages, the modern science catches up with the Puranas, and also, and I think in the heretic science, ancient sages knew the age of the Big Bang within 1%, 0.1% of the modern value. I think they have a third book also now. So we're really excited about that. And Prabhu's, it's now 8:07 a.m. on the East Coast. Prabhu will speak about the Srimad Bhagavatam for 45 minutes to 1 hour. And we'll have ample time for questions and answers after that. So Siddha Hari Prabhu, really great to see you. Thank you so much for accepting our request. And you can take it from here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hari Prabhu, for the wonderful introduction. I don't deserve any of that. However, whatever I'm able to do is by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his wonderful disciples. So I give all the credit to my teachers and the association of devotees, which has made it possible. Thank you, dear devotees, for giving me an opportunity to lead a discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam today in the wonderful and the glorious Columbus congregation. As Prabhu mentioned, if I would like to speak or lead a discussion here, I say yes, I would like to lead a discussion because whenever I come here for the discussion, I find it that the congregation, the discussion is very, the participants are very sincere and the discussion is very, very serious, and that's what makes Bhagavatam, studying Bhagavatam or reading Bhagavatam much more relishable. Like in the case of Shukdev Maharaj or Parishit Goswami, it's not that I'm Shukdev Goswami and you are all Parishit Maharaj, but the idea is that the speaker and the listeners, they both should be very serious and sincere for the Bhagavatam to be heard and relished. So that's why I look forward to this opportunity, and I'm grateful to Hari Prabhu for making this happen. So Hari Prabhu told me that we would like to read today first canto, 7th chapter, text number 29 to 34. And before we begin, we will say the prayers. I'm wondering, Hari Prabhu, would I be able to share the screen for the verses? How do we do this? What's the style we do it?
Yes, you can share your screen now. We'll make you the co-host.
Okay. And do we read Sanskrit also, translation purpose, or do I get to choose how I want to do it?
You can choose however. We've done both.
Okay. Yeah, so we will do standard style, which is we'll do Sanskrit, translations, and purport. They don't have much purport, so it'll be short. Okay. So before we do that, we'll say a few prayers to Srimad Bhagavatam and to the Lord to bless us so that we can be successful in this attempt. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Jeva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki कृष्णस्य धर्मोपगते धर्मज्ञादिभिः सह कलो नष्टं तृषां एषा पुराणवर्गोऽधुनोदिता अनर्थपश्वं साक्षात् भक्तियोगमदोक्षजे लोकस्य जनोदविद्वं चक्रे सततसमितां यस्यं वैश्वर्यमाणायां कृष्ण परमपुरुषे भक्ति उबालते पुंसा शोकम मोहाभय आपः धर्म प्रोचितकैतवो अत्र परमो निर्मत्सरणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवम् अत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुने कृते किं वा परे ईश्वरे सद्यो हृदयावृद्धते किं वा सद्यो हृदयावृद्धते कृतभिः शुशुभिः तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखाद्रव समितं पिबत भागवतरसम् आलयं मुहुरसिका बहुभावुका नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जय पताका स्वामी नामिने नमाचार्य पादाय नीता कृपपदायिने गौर कथा दामोदय नगरगामतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we're reading from 1st Canto 7th chapter, text number 29, and let's see. We'll share the screen. Okay. Okay, here you go. So we are on this text, and the way we're going to do is that one of the devotees will read the Sanskrit, then the translation. We won't do synonyms. So let me pick one devotee. Alex Prabhu, would you like to read?
Sure, Prabhu. The Sanskrit?
Yes, and the translation afterwards.
Yes, Prabhu. Sutta uvacha Shrutva Bhagavata Proktam Falguna Paraviraha Sprastva Pastam Parikramya Brahmam Brahmasrutam Snadad Sandadhe. Sri Suta Goswami said, hearing this from the personality of Godhead, Arjuna touched water for purification, and after circumambulating Lord Sri Krishna, he cast his Brahmastra weapon to counteract the other one.
Yeah. So here, Sri Suta Goswami is saying that what did Arjuna do? But why is Arjuna doing this? I'm sure we have been discussing week after week. So I want to recap quickly what's happening. So Arjuna had punished Ashwatthama. And after punishing Ashwatthama, they were coming back. And when they were coming back to the Hastinapur, or they're close to coming back, he felt there was something wrong, and he saw the symptoms of that, happening in the sky. And since Krishna was along next to him, he, instead of panicking, he started praying to Krishna. He spoke the famous prayer, Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara Tomeko Yadhayamanayam Apavargo Asi Samsrite. He said, Krishna, you are the most powerful. You are the one who gives one freedom from fear. Anybody who wants liberation, they take shelter of you. So Krishna, please tell me what's happening. He asked Krishna the question, why there is so much, why there's so much fear around us? Why there's so much panic all around us? It looks like there's some calamity coming. And then Krishna tells him, yes, you're right. That, fallen son of the Brahmana, who is that? Ashwatthama. He has shot this, Brahmastra weapon, and that weapon is coming towards us. So that's why this is happening. Then Krishna also gives a solution. Krishna says, you should shoot your own weapon and, hit the other weapon. Try to destroy it. Try to do something about it. So here, Arjuna has done that. So before, you chant any mantra, you're supposed to do tarpan. Like Om Krishnaya Namaha, Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha. Those who do Pujari service, they know that, isn't it? So here also he's doing the same thing. He's doing that. And then he's circumambulating Lord Krishna. It's interesting, it's a time of calamity. There's a weapon coming right on towards you. You don't have much time left, but yet he's taking all this time to first of all offer his respects to Krishna before he shoots his weapon. And I mean, there are a number of lessons we can learn from this, but primarily there is another verse which comes in second canto, which goes like this: Tapasvino danapara yashasvino manasvino mantra vidhastu mangala shemam na vindati tad arpanam tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. There, Sri Sukadeva Goswami is praying. He's saying that, one can be a great tapasvi, the person who can do austerities. One can be a great charitable person, danapara, doing a lot of donations. Then manasvino, one can be really good at controlling his mind, or one can be really expert at what's the next one? Manasvino, one can be very famous, like a big celebrity, or one can be expert at chanting the mantras, or one can be expert at doing karma kanda. But unless one offers that to Krishna, his activity won't be considered auspicious. So although here Arjuna knows the art, he has the best of the best weapons, Gandivam, still he takes a moment to first of all offer that to Krishna. So we may be expert at amazing things, or other people may be expert at different things, but unless we offer that to Krishna, our activity won't be considered auspicious. That is why before we start Bhagavatam, we do Mangalacharan. Why? We're offering this activity which we're going to do first to Krishna, so that our activity can become auspicious. So just like that, he does that. It also, we can learn from this also another point regarding our morning program or our sadhana. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, you think, hey, today I woke up late, this is the reason, that is the reason, maybe I should skip Mangalarti, maybe I should skip my japa, I can do japa later, I can do reading later, I have to do this service or this or that, I have to get to work, XYZ. But here, again, although he's in the heat of moment, what could be more panicking, more calamitous than the weapon which is coming to kill you? But again, he's taking a moment to first of all offer his respects to Krishna, and then he's going ahead to use his skills to again serve Krishna, because Krishna has told him that you use your own Brahmastra and you attack. So he is just following in the direction of Krishna, but even before trying to follow that, he's first of all offering his respects to Krishna. Okay, so that was this verse, and verse number 20. Let me see. We have Ramesh Prabhu also here. Ramesh Prabhu, would you like to read the Sanskrit, the translation and the purport of verse number 20?
Yes, Prabhu. 30, right, Prabhu?
30, yes, sir. 30.
Samhatyanyonya vayoyostu tejasi sharasambrite avritya rodasi khamcha vavridatte kavanvitaha. Translation: when the rays of the two Brahmastras combined, a great circle of fire like the disk of the sun covered all outer space and the whole firmament of planets. Right.
Okay, purport also, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. Purport: by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The heat created by the flash of a Brahmastra resembles the fire exhibited in the sun globe at the time of cosmic annihilation. The radiation of atomic energy is very insignificant in comparison to the heat produced by a Brahmastra. The atomic bomb explosion can at most blow up one globe, but the heat produced by the Brahmastra can destroy the whole cosmic situation. The comparison is therefore made to the heat at the time of annihilation.
Thank you. So now he launched the two weapons. Now one Brahmastra is enough to destroy the whole planet. And here, there were two Brahmastras. So one is enough to give pain, and here we have, two fighting each other or striking each other. So what to do? Prabhupada is giving an analogy to help us better understand, because none of us have the experience of annihilation. Does any of us remember the last annihilation we were in? We have been through many of them. Just to remind you, there have been many times when we were part of this solar system of the Brahmanda, when it was destroyed, and we also got burnt. We also died like that, some other way, but we don't remember it. So Prabhupada is giving an analogy here to help us understand. Actually, Shukadeva Goswami is giving the analogy here to help us understand that sun, which is a great circle of fire, when that covers the outer space and the whole firmament of planets, that kind of heat. I'm not sure why every time I come and speak here, it ends up being a scientific class. Because there's a whole chapter of this in my book called The Big Bang and the Sages. And Hare Krishna Prabhu is saying, we haven't experienced two suns rising all at once, but we speak of 1,000 when Krishna speaks in 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's right. That's also true. So in one of the chapters in my book, I discuss this, that it is described later in Bhagavatam and other Puranas also, that as we go further in our solar system, currently we're halfway through the life of sun. In next 3 to 4 billion years, the sun will start expanding. Why? Because currently it is running on fusion inside its core. But after some time, the fusion process won't work, and it will start doing just the combustion of the hydrogen, and that is a less kinetic process, less kinetic energy process, or less heat energy process than the fusion. Because of that, the sun would not be able to hold up all the oxygen inside, all the hydrogen inside, and it will start expanding. Now, since the sun starts expanding, we're not very far from the sun. You won't realize we are in the very small region around the sun, known as a habitable region, where life can exist. If the earth was like, an inch this side or inch that side, life won't be able to exist. Not an inch, maybe like few kilometers, that's it. The earth is in a very small orbit. That's the only orbit where life can exist because there's water here. If you're too close to the sun, it'll be what? Too hot. No, all the water will evaporate. Like we see in the case of Mercury, Venus, And if you are a little far away, it'll be too cold. All the water will be ice. Now they're looking for water in Mars. Remember Elon Musk, he's trying to get to Mars for the same reason. So we're in this very habitable region. But once the sun starts expanding, this earth where we are, the place where we are, that will no longer be a habitable region. All the water bodies will start evaporating. So much so that even the groundwater will evaporate. And earth will become like a dry rock. And the sun will expand to 200 times its size. So practically the earth will be eaten up by the sun. So that kind of experience people who's been to, let's take a question. What's the highest temperature you have experienced in your life? You can quickly say in the chat or say for yourself by unmuting yourself. What's the highest temperature you have seen? Okay, Hari 108 degrees. Okay, Fahrenheit. Good. Charuta 119 Fahrenheit. Ramesh 120. Who else? Alec 40 degrees Celsius. That's practically 120. Yeah, isn't it? Okay. Anybody else? What's the biggest Fahrenheit? Who we have left? Naveen Krishna 48. Wow, that's the highest we got there. I'm not sure where. Is that on Earth or some other planet? Must be Middle East.
South India, sometimes it got 47, 48 in peak summer.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I thought Delhi was the highest. It goes to 50, but you're breaking that.
Yeah, in South India, there's some places really hot too in summer, in the May. It's called Chitta Kartik.
Anybody else? Jai Gaur, Shivam, Ganesh, never been to hot places in your life? Always stayed in Michigan or Columbus?
Well, actually, about 115, maybe up to 120 when we were in like Somalia. It got quite hot.
Yeah. So it gets really hot in Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan, in Mathura, there's a saying. What's a saying? That the heat in the summer is not as bad as the heat in the rainy season. Why is that? Because during the rainy season, because of the rain, all the dust settles down, and the sun which comes out, it directly hits you. Like during the normal summer season, there's some dry, dust in the air which protects the sun from hitting you, because there's some wind going around, and that acts like a cloud. But the heat of the heat during the rainy season is really bad. So Hari Krishna was joking. Okay, so that's the case. That the heat during this in this case of the annihilation towards the end of our Brahmanda is so big, is so large, that the whole planet will become like the shell of a tortoise. That's what's said in the Bhagavatam. Like, I'm not sure if you have seen a shell of a tortoise. It's like a rigid surface, has ups and downs, and completely dry. There won't be any trees, no grass, nothing left. So that, of course, the life has to end. There will be only few underwater aquifers left where some life will be sustained. Otherwise, practically everything will be finished. And then, in about close to, from right now to close to 5.3 billion years, the Earth planet will be destroyed, because the sun will eat it up, will finish it, like digest it, finished. So that's the kind of heat they were experiencing at that moment. And it was really terrible, really tough time. Okay, so here we continue to hear that description. Jagar Prabhu, can you read the Sanskrit translation and purport?
Oops, sorry, unmuting myself there. Dostastra tehas tutayos trilokan pradahan mahat dahyamanaha prajaha sarva samvartakam amam sata. Translation: all the population of the three worlds was scorched by the combined heat of the weapons. Everyone was reminded of the Samvartaka fire, which takes place at the time of annihilation. Purport: the three worlds are the upper, lower, and intermediate planets of the universe. Although the Brahmastra was released on this earth, the heat produced by the combination of both weapons covered all the universe, and all the populations on all the different planets began to feel the heat excessively, and compared it to that of the Samvartaka fire. No planet, therefore, is without living beings, as less intelligent materialistic men think.
That's right. So as I mentioned, that annihilation actually, or the Samvartaka fire, is towards the end of the day of Brahma, and that destroys the whole Brahmanda. So this heat of these two Brahmastras was so heavy, or it was so hot, that it was burning not only the earthly planet, but other regions also. And that's being mentioned here, that people living in other lokas also felt the pain. So currently we are in Bhuloka, which is in the middle. Above us there are 6 more lokas. Below us there are 7 lokas. This all makes one Brahmanda. And the Brahmanda is destroyed at the end of the day of Brahma, when the sun expands and eats up the whole thing practically. The whole thing gets destroyed. So the heat is not only felt by people on Bhuloka, but on other lokas also. Okay, and we are in a very small region in the Bhuloka. Bhuloka is huge. It has many other dvipas. We are in one of the dvipas called Jambu Dvipa. There are other islands also, which are not accessible through our vision, but they are there. And Prabhupada is making the point there that even there, people felt the heat of these Brahmastras. Now it's interesting. It's mentioned here in the verse that everyone was reminded of the Samvartaka fire, which takes place at the time of annihilation. The Sanskrit word is amam sata. So amam sat. So one may wonder, hey, we just discussed that we don't remember the Samvartaka fire. So how are these people reminded of Samvartaka fire? Because people in this age and time are spending their time in studying the Shastra, Bhagavatam, other Puranas, Upanishads. So they're not only seeing with their vision, which the 2 eyes or prataksha, but they're learning to see the eyes of the sages, or the eyes of the Puranas and Upanishads. Therefore, when they see something, they right away connect that to what they have heard, to what they have read. And that is another way of experiencing. We hear there are many people, there are people who learn by reading. There are people who learn by experience, and there are people who don't learn even after experiencing something. So these are three different types of intelligence. The first class intelligence is somebody who hears or reads and he applies in his life. Second class person is that somebody who hears but doesn't apply. He experiences getting burnt, and then next time he doesn't touch anything hot. The third type of person is he keeps getting burnt and burnt but never learns from it. So that's a foolish person. So we don't want to be the third class, at least the first class, second class. So here we're hearing that these people at that time, all the populations, they were reminded that this looks like a Samvartaka fire, which we have read about in the Bhagavatam or in the other Puranas. Text 32. Let's see. Naveen Krishna Prabhu, can you read this one, please?
Sure, Prabhu. Trying to make the big, yeah. Prajopadravan alakshya lokavyatikaram chatam matam cha vasudevasya sanjay harajunodvayam. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, seeing the disturbance of the general populace and the imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both Brahmastra weapons as Lord Shri Krishna desired. Should I read purport also?
That's right, Prabhu.
Yeah. The theory that the modern atomic bomb explosion can annihilate the world is a childish imagination. First of all, the atomic energy is not powerful enough to destroy the world. And secondly, ultimately, it all rests on the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, because without his will or sanction, nothing can be built up or destroyed. It is foolish also to think that natural laws are ultimately powerful. Material nature's law works under the direction of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says there that natural laws work under his supervision. The world can be destroyed only by the will of the Lord, not by the whims of tiny politicians. Lord Krishna desired the weapons released by both Drauni and Arjuna be withdrawn, and it was carried out by Arjuna at once. Similarly, there are many agents of the all-powerful Lord, and by his will only can one execute what he desires.
So this again, Prabhupada, in this one, Prabhupada is stating a very interesting principle. Prabhupada is saying here that it all rests on the supreme will of Supreme Lord, because without his will or sanction, nothing can be built up or destroyed. Up till year 2019, the whole world was, or 2020, the whole world was, flying at the breakneck speed towards destroying the whole earth. And then in 2019 or 2020 came COVID, and that brought a standstill to many of the operations of scientists or the big industries. They couldn't perform their work if they wanted to. And it was not some big, some aliens who came here or some country who fought, but it was some very teeny virus, which they still have trying to figure out how to deal with. So this shows us, that that like in the case of an elephant, an elephant can only not only elephant needs another elephant to be defeated. Even a small ant can actually cause an elephant to die, because when the ants gets into the nose of elephant and gives the elephant so much trouble, the elephant practically goes crazy trying to scratch himself or deal with the ant. Similarly, although we think that we are very powerful and then we are so scientifically advanced and there are so many things we are doing, but when Krishna wants something to happen, even a small virus can do the work, which big people can't do it. So this shows this should make us humble when we read passages like these and when we see the world outside, that how everything is being actually performed under the supervision of the Lord. There's a famous word, Karmanya Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachan. And there Krishna is saying that don't think that you are the enjoyer, that you are the enjoyer of your work, and don't think that you are the one who has performed the work either. As a jiva, as a jiva, we can only do three things. What are three things we can do? Bhoktritva, Kartritva, and Gyatritva. This is said by Jiva Goswami in the Sandarbhas, in the Paramatma Sandarbha. He talks about it, that a jiva can only desire to enjoy, a jiva can only desire to act, a jiva can only desire to know. These are three types of desire which a jiva can have. or these are the three types of things which a jiva can do. Material energy or material things like a table cannot do that. Like people are talking about building AI, building robots. You can build them, but they cannot have this ability to desire. We are the one who put some kind of code there and make them act like they're desiring, but they cannot desire. It doesn't matter, cannot desire. But a jiva can only desire. A jiva can never perform anything. So it can only desire to do something. Like here, Krishna, Arjuna took both the weapons back. So what happened? Krishna told Arjuna that he shoot the weapon there and try to destroy. But when he saw that the weapon was not being destroyed, actually was creating a big fire that could be done, then Krishna said, okay, don't worry about destroying it. Chant the mantra and bring both the weapons back. It's like if anybody of you has done kite flying. When you're doing kite flying, sometimes if you see a kite, and I guess maybe you can try it sometime in Columbus, we can have a kite flying festival. When you're having a kite flying festival, there's a lot of lessons to be learned, especially about this pastime. That when another kite is flying away, suppose it's cut, the thread is cut, then if you are really good at flying the kite, you can actually catch that kite with the help of your own by going around it. The same way, when Krishna saw that the weapons are destroying practically the whole universe or the whole Brahmanda, then Krishna said, okay, Arjuna, you should chant a mantra and bring it back. So then Arjuna was able to bring both the weapons back into, wherever he wanted to bring it back somewhere to close the whole show. So here, Arjuna, although he desired to although he chanted the mantra and was able to bring the weapons back, but here Prabhupada is making the point that nothing can happen by the supreme will of the Lord, because Krishna had already sanctioned it. That's why Arjuna was able to execute something. And that goes back to our first point, that before we do anything, we should seek the blessings and auspiciousness of Krishna to be successful in that work. Because it's Krishna actually ultimately who is going to perform the work. We can only desire. The more we desire, the clearly we desire, the pure we desire, there's a better chance of us being successful in achieving the result. But when all along the way, we may desire to do service, we may desire to be successful in our material work, we may desire to be healthy. There are different types of desires, at different levels. Some are more closer to pure devotional service than others. But in all those desires, it is essential that we, first of all, seek the auspiciousness of Krishna. And why is it important? Because as a jiva, we are limited in our capacity to perform any work. We only can, and then when Paramatma puts sanction, then that desire, with the help of the material body and the senses, which are governed by demigods, turns into an action. And then also that action not necessarily doesn't mean that we'll have the result. Then also Krishna has to give a sanction and the karma has to come in play, and then that action may go into fruition. So there are different places where Krishna has to give sanction for an activity, for a desire to really go to fruition. And Prabhupada is stressing that here too, that Lord says there that natural laws work under supervision. The world can be destroyed only by the will of the Lord and not by the whims of tiny politicians. So people are always planning big projects. Prabhupada says in one of the purports that when Ravana was here on the planet, he wanted to build a staircase to the heaven. 50 years ago or 60 years ago, I was not on the planet, but I think most of us were not on the planet, but the American and Russian government wanted to send people to moon. And now we have Elon Musk who wants to fly to Mars and establish a colony there. So we have people desiring big things for a long time, for a lot of time. But again, those things cannot be happen unless there is a will of the Lord. And when Lord desires, it may happen or may not happen. But the idea being that people have been desiring many things regarding destroying or creating this world for a long time, but they can only make those activities happen when Krishna sanctions them. Also brings us another point, which is a slight point here, that Prabhupada says here, the material nature's law works under the direction of the Supreme Lord. So this is something also which I discuss in my book, The Big Bang and the Sages, that in the Bhagavatam, we hear these different dates for significant event in the history of the universe. And as I've shared with you in the past, there's like the date of the age of the sun or the age of the universe. Those are very exactly given in the Bhagavatam. And they are the same dates which the material scientists are coming up with when they are using their intelligence to understand the nature's laws. So their understanding of nature's laws tells them that the Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago. And our Bhagavatam tells that 13.8 billion years ago is when the material energy caused the creation of the universe. So what does that mean? If you put 2 and 2 together, that means there is nature's laws which are there. But at the same time, those nature's laws have been planned or have been put there by the supreme will of the Lord. So because Lord is the one who has put those laws in place, he knew when are those events going to happen, or when did those events happen, and that's why he spoke about those events in his book, the Bhagavad Purana. Similarly, when he knew how and when it's going to happen, he also knew how the process is going to happen, and that's why there is uniform nature's laws all around us. Sometimes scientists take it for take it for what do you call it? They take it for granted that how the nature's law should be uniform. Like somebody can claim, hey, there's more gravity in my house than in your house. What is the argument against it? And if you keep testing every place on the earth, it will take a long time to find out. But a scientist assumes that nature's laws are uniform all around the earth. So he assumes that there is some supreme power there is some supreme energy which has made it sure that all around the earth, all around the universe, the nature's laws work in the same manner as they work on the earth on its laboratory. So understanding this, it is not just God or the nature's laws. It is not God or physics. It is God and physics, where physics or chemistry has come from the Lord, where the laws of physics and chemistry have come from the Lord. So it's not one or the other, it's both. So it's not that it is just the God who wants things to happen in our life. It is our desire also. So it's not just either it's my free will or it's Krishna's free will. No, it's both of them. We have some free will also, and Krishna has a lot of free will. But they both go hand in hand for performing any work. When we desire something, then Krishna, seeing the intensity of our desire, seeing the intention of our desire, may or may not let us perform an activity. So this is something which we can learn from this verse. And now we move to the next verse. Verse number 33. Who would like to recite this one? Let's see. Who else is here? Let's see. I'm not sure. Let's see. Shrikant Reddy, would you like to read?
Hello?
Hare Krishna. Yes, would you like to read the shloka and the translation?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'll read.
Thank you.
Arjuna is pleasuring in anger like to read ball of copper, dexterously arrested the son of Gautami and bound him with ropes like an animal. Should I read sloka as well or only translation?
I'll read the purport now.
Okay. Ashwadhama's mother Krupi was born in the family of Gautama. The significant point in this sloka is that Ashwatthama was caught and bound up with ropes like an animal. According to Sridhara Swami, Arjuna was obliged to catch the son of Brahmana like an animal as part of his duty, dharma. This suggestion by Sridhara Swami is also confirmed in the latter statement of Sri Krishna. Ashwatthama was a bona fide son of Dronacharya and Krupi, but because he had degraded himself to a lower status of life, it was proper to treat him as an animal and not as a Brahmana.
Thank you. So here, now we have a counter example. So what we heard a moment ago, we heard about how Arjuna, he before he performed any activity, he first of all sought the blessings of Krishna, and he offered his mantras to Krishna, and then he launched the Brahmastra, and then the people were suffering, and then when Krishna desired the weapons to come down, he brought the weapons down, and he was successful. Now here we have the opposite example. What's the example? The example of Gautami, or the son of Gautama, who is who? Ashwatthama. So although he was also an expert in chanting mantras, although he was also expert in archery, yet he failed. Why did he fail? Because he didn't seek blessings from Krishna. Because he didn't offer his work to Krishna. As I said earlier, Shemam na vindati vina yad arpanam. Unless one offers one's work, one's activity to Krishna, he's bound to fail. One may be having great qualities, great qualification, but here we have a case of Ashwatthama, who is practically as good and dexterous as Arjuna, but yet not seeking the blessings of Krishna. We hear another verse famous by Prabhupada all the time. He says, Yasasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana. That those who are performing devotional service to Krishna, they get all the wonderful qualities of demigods. Those who are not engaged in worshipping Krishna, they may have many qualities, but those qualities are just mind's tribulations or just thoughts of minds. They go up and down. We also hear in second canto again, what do we hear? We hear somebody is to see Krishna. His eyes are like the plumes of a peacock. Somebody who doesn't use his ears to hear about Krishna, his ears are like the ears of a snake. Somebody who doesn't use tongue to speak about Krishna, his tongue is like tongue of a frog. Somebody who doesn't use his head to bow down to Krishna, his head is just like a dead person's head. Somebody who doesn't walk to a holy place, his legs are like trunks of a tree. So the essence is that we may have wonderful qualities, but if they're not connected to Krishna, then they are waste, they're useless. And we have two examples here, Arjuna and Ashwatthama, which are showing with their case that how one is successful and one is a person who's being insulted, who is being derided upon, just because of one problem, that he is not connected to Krishna. So now we do today's last verse of today's section, 34. Hari Prabhu shared a verse. Let me read that one. That head is a lofty, which is white and with dust from bowing down to Lord Krishna. Those eyes are the most beautiful, which darkness has abandoned after they have seen Lord Hari. That intelligence is spotless, like white glow of the moon or a conch shell, which concentrates on Lord Madhava. And that tongue rains down nectar, which constantly glorifies Lord Narayan. Thank you, Hari Prabhu. I appreciate it. Okay, so we have text number 34. Let's see who would like to volunteer, or I can pick somebody.
I can read if you want.
Yes, please. Oh, I don't want repetition. And maybe if you already read, I'll have somebody else.
I can read, Prabhu.
Okay, please read.
Yes.
Sanskrit
I'm Preeti. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Text text 34. Shibiraya nilishantam rajabhadat pumbalat praharjanam prakupito bhagwanam bhujeshanah. Translation. After binding Ashwatthama, Arjuna wanted to take him to the military camp. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eyes, spoke to angry Arjuna. Purport. Both Arjuna and Lord Sri Krishna are described here in an angry mood, but Arjuna's eyes were like balls of red copper, whereas the eyes of Lord Krishna were like lotuses. This means that the angry mood of Arjuna and that of Lord are not at the same level. The Lord is transcendence, and thus he is absolute in any stage. His anger is not like the anger of a conditioned living being without the modes of qualitative material natures. Because he is absolute, both his anger and pleasure are the same. His anger is not exhibited in the three modes of material nature. It is only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotees, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even if he is angry, the object of anger is blessed. He is unchanged in all circumstances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it's interesting that just before we started reading this Bhagavatam verse, this Bhagavatam section, we were reading their prayers and singing the song, and there Alec Prabhu was talking about the eyes of Lord Jagannath, and here we are again talking about eyes of Lord Krishna. Here it's being mentioned how his eyes are very loving. They are lotus eyes. What is that? Bhagwan Ambuk Chekshana, lotus eyes. So Krishna is always planning these things. Anyway, so here the personality of God is Sri Krishna, looking on his lotus eyes, spoke to Arjuna in an angry mood. So Prabhupada is making the comparison how Arjuna, he has red hot eyes, angry, whereas Krishna, he's angry also, but his eyes are lotus eyes, or very sweet, or very pleasurable. And I mean, this is a separate point which we can discuss separately, how the jiva and and how Vishnu Tattva are two different types of transcendental energy. Although jiva gets covered by material energy, whereas Krishna can never be covered by material energy. And this is also we heard earlier in this chapter, first kind of 7th chapter, text number 4, where Brahmaji is explaining where Vyasadev is explaining his samadhi, and there he mentions that he saw, what is that? Bhakti Yoga, what's that? 174. Let me quickly check it. So he says, yes, Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Praniti Amile Apashyat Purusham Purnam Mayam Chadad Apashrayam. Then he saw that Krishna, in his meditation, and he saw how material energy was behind him. Whereas in the next verse he says that in the case of the jiva, he saw material energy was covering the jiva. So jiva can be covered by material modes, whereas Krishna can never be covered by material modes. That's a separate point. We can discuss it. But again, another point, the point which I've been talking about right now, is that seeking the auspiciousness of Krishna, or offering a work to Krishna before we begin any work or any service. And then what we get is this. What we get, that Krishna looks on with his lotus eyes. That when we seek the blessings of Krishna before we begin any work or before we do any service, then what we get as a result is not just the success in that work or fruition of that work, but more importantly and primarily, we get the beautiful lotus eyes of the Lord looking upon us. So not only the work is bound to succeed, most likely, sometimes it can fail also if Krishna may desire, but what's the purpose of human life? The purpose of human life is to pleased. And here, Krishna was pleased with Arjuna. Although he's angry about Ashwatthama, but he's pleased with Arjuna, and he's looking at him with his lotus eyes. So if we want the glare or the blessings of Krishna's eyes upon us, then we should take his blessings. We should say few prayers to him before we begin any work. Just before this section, Arjuna said so many wonderful prayers to Krishna. The whole Bhagavatam is just a set of prayers, whether it be Kunti Maharani, Bhishmadev, or Shukdev Goswami, Parishit Maharaj, Narada Muni. Before they speak anything, before they do anything, they first of all say prayers to Krishna. So this is a lesson which we can take from this passage, and something which we can meditate upon, is to seek the auspiciousness of Krishna, to say a few prayers to him before we perform any service. It can be a simple service like even going to work, starting your work, cooking, cleaning, writing, speaking. But before we do anything, if we can take some time and learn from Arjuna's example to seek the auspiciousness, to seek the blessings of Krishna by saying few prayers, by thanking him, by praying to him, then our work, our service can really be successful. So I will end here, and we can take comments, reflections, And actually, I have an exercise in mind, but I'm not sure if we have a time for an exercise. It will take about 15 minutes. What do you say? Should we do an exercise? Hari Prabhu, is that possible?
Good. We all need some
Yes?
exercise. All two-dimensional figures on a screen.
Okay, so we need exercise. Exercise. What I want is that everybody, first of all, if you can turn your camera on so that I can be relieved from the impersonal liberation which I'm entering into. Although that's supposed to be white, but here, thanks to Zoom, I'm entering into black impersonal liberation. And I would like all of you to get a pen and a paper, and we're going to do an exercise. It's called free writing. So what the exercise is going to be, you get a pen and paper, and for next 6 minutes, I would like you to write down whatever comes first to your mind after reading this whole passage of Bhagavatam, which we just read. And what you write could be connected to what you have read before, what you have experienced before, or something which you would like to do after reading this, or some interesting point which struck you, not necessarily spoken by me, or something which struck you from my speaking. It can be anything. But what's the most important thing? That you don't let the pen stop for the next 6 minutes. You just keep writing for 6 minutes until I tell you the time is up. So it's 8:56. I hope you got pen and paper by now. And as I said, it's going to take 15-20 minutes for the whole exercise, because after we write this, I'm going to ask everybody to share it. I hope it's not too personal, but you write. It could be something which you can share in public, and we'll do that after that. So it's 8:57 now. Our 6 minutes start now. It went to 9:03, and now you can start writing. Hari Bol.
Prabhu, could you maybe put the prompt on the chat? Maybe you can type it out.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, our time is up. We'll start with Janish. Can you please turn your camera on so we can see you also? Thank you, Janish.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes. So make sure you don't. I don't want to hear any explanation. I would like to just hear what you have written. We can hear explanation later if we have to ask you. But just written what you have written. I want to hear that. No points, but what you have written there.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Okay.
So I'll just go to the points. One is the power of Brahmastra, mercy of Krishna on his devotees. Prayers by devotees to Krishna. Begin every endeavor with prayers to Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. Our desires are for enjoyment of Krishna rather than us. Limited free will versus unlimited free will. Battle between good and evil. And then whatever Krishna wishes is for benefit of devotees, may it seem good or bad. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Janish. Now those were more like notes, but let's see if anybody else has accomplished whatever they wanted. Thank you, Janish. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Who would like to go next?
I can go next, Prabhu.
Okay, yes, sir.
So I noted down, I was just going through this chapter, and so first thing I noted down was that Ashwatthama foolishly thinking that his killing of Draupadi's son will please Duryodhan. So the point in that is that never do anything which is not approved by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, speculating that this will please them. Then Draupadi in distress. So Draupadi is representing that how devotees can also be distressed in times. Then Arjuna pacifying Draupadi and glorifying Lord. So when Ashwatthama was in distress, he shot Brahmastra, but when Arjuna was in distress, he went and glorified the Lord. 4 verses 22 to 25. So devotees, when they are in distress, instead of asking Lord for the help, they glorify. And then I think the last one I stopped in the middle, but yeah, so far I think these are the completed points.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, next. Yes, Preeti Mataji, please.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. So, Prabhu, I'll tell you the headlines, and if you want to understand, let me know. So, my headlines were pause, pray, and participate.
No, did you write it like an essay, or you wrote just headlines?
No. I wrote description, but while I was writing, I thought what was the lesson for me. Like if I have to say in one line, what would I say?
No, not in one line. Say the whole thing. Tell me the whole thing.
Okay. All right.
No problem.
So my first thing was pass, pray, and participate. Arjuna is so blessed that he gets direct instructions from Krishna. And look at us, we don't deserve, or we are not qualified to get direct instructions from Krishna, and we don't understand his teachings in the scripture. So that's why I said that, and then, every action, like you were saying in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's like Krishna is the ultimate samam bomnam, or ultimate culmination of all destruction and creation. So whole Bhagavatam is like something, this happened, that happened, and then they paused, and Yudhishthira was elated, he was joyful, he offered prayers to Krishna. Then something happened, Arjuna was scared, he was feared for his life, he couldn't understand what happened, and he offered prayers to Krishna, and then they got the solution. So that's what it is in our lives. When you have anything, take a pause, pray, and participate in that reciprocation. Try to receive, because we don't have Krishna telling us, hey, don't do this. So just participate. That's what I meant by participate. Then one point was look and learn. So I thought that we should try to find out. Ashwatthama was son of Drona. He studied with Pandava. So certainly he was highly qualified. But then what events, what qualities led him to his heinous activity, his demoniac activities? And we all have those qualities. So maybe try to identify what are those qualities, what are the events that trigger us, and identify and learn from those, learn from Ashwatthama, and don't act. And then one point was compare and contrast, is what earlier I think Alec Prabhu said that, Ashwatthama got mad, and he wanted to please his master, so he did bad action. Draupadi was at the receiving end of this action, but she didn't get mad. She did what was dharma. Even if she could have easily gotten him killed, take her revenge, she thought what is the right action to do. So that's very important for us to learn. So
Wow, that was amazing. I love it. Pause,
Thank you.
pray, and participate.
Yes.
Look and learn. And let's last compare and contrast. Wow.
Yes.
Got a lot of alliteration going on there.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for sharing that. That was really good. Okay. Who else like to share?
Prabhu, I wrote an essay.
Yeah.
I didn't write points.
Yeah. Essay is good.
I just wrote what was coming in my mind in a story form.
Please.
So I'm just going to read out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any great points, but this is what I wrote. Arjuna was astonished to see a powerful and dangerous light coming his way. He at once, instead of overcoming with fear, prayed to the Lord for protection. The Lord guided him and asked him to counteract Ashwatthama's Brahmastra, which was to cause havoc in the 3 planetary systems. Arjuna retracted the Brahmastra as the Lord desired, showing us an example of following the Lord's orders and desires. In the next verses, we see a comparison of Arjuna's and the Lord's eyes in their angry mood. While Arjuna had copper red eyes, the Lord had lotus eyes. Even in anger, the Lord had transcendental eyes called Ambuja Ikshana, he who looks with his lotus eyes. He who looks with his lotus eyes. This shows that even in anger, the Lord is above the modes of material nature. That is all I wrote.
Thank you for writing that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I also wrote like an essay when I write, so there's nothing bad about it. It's just about healing from your heart. So I appreciate that you put your heart's feelings out there on the paper. So thank you. Okay, who would like to go next?
I can go. I won't read exactly. I scribble notes, but I keep the thoughts coherent in my head. I thought a lot about at the beginning where we're talking Arjuna, before casting his Brahmastra weapon, purifies himself and circumambulates the Lord. And thinking, Arjuna is not a normal person. So how can I, have this kind of consciousness also? So that's a goal. But I'm thinking in life, work, and this is kind of what you said, Hare Prabhu, how can I make the time with family and work and all this? So it's starting small and making the time, like you said, don't put off the japa, do that. And I have a hard time with that. I'll get halfway through and then parse it out. So really dedicating the time for that and learning and trying to do that. And then thinking of Arjuna being in this battle, like you said, on the verge of death, there's this huge weapon going on. And I've been in the war, so not quite like that, obviously, but that kind of intense stress and pressure. And this is actually how I first found Krishna was during the war. So it's kind of thinking Krishna is there talking to us. And in those high stress times, that's when it's most important to hear Krishna. And also I'm thinking maybe when Krishna can be most clear, but it's the other times where I'm distracted, that's when I need to be listening and thinking and trying to find Krishna's instruction. So taking all that, keeping the small steps, keeping up on everything and hearing is my small steps, trying to get to that kind of consciousness that Arjuna has, that is the goal.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So like in case of Jagat Prabhu, he shared some steps which you want to do in his life. So that could also be part of the free journal writing, where you can share something, how you want to apply it. Okay. Anybody else? I mean, everybody has to say it. It's not a choice. But so you can go first or later. Yes, Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I wrote mine kind of like a big, just like a whatever came to my mind. I just kind of threw it up on there. So I was thinking how the son of a Brahmana can fall down to such a low level. It is said that before doing any great action of consequence, you must consult 3 Brahmanas. Of course, you are not a Brahmin by birth, but you have a better chance than others who may not be born in a Brahmin family. A Brahmin's success is to become a devotee of Vishnu, Vaishnava, But here we see how a so-called Brahmin is attacking Vishnu and his most pure devotee. He is rightly bound and caught like an animal. Even Kshatriyas follow rules of war, but to kill the 5 sleeping babies of Draupadi is no fighting tactic, but is just a ruthless show of aggression, spite, and passion. Draupadi later on in the chapter does not want Ashwatthama killed, which shows the high level of consciousness she was on. Arjuna also, before displaying his Brahmastra, prayed to Krishna and invoked auspiciousness before casting his Brahmastra, but Ashwatthama did not, which led to the success of Arjuna's, but not the success of Ashwatthama's malice intent Brahmastra.
Wow, thank you. That was such a nice, beautiful, flowing essay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So these, what we are writing right now, these are basically realizations coming to us from the help of Krishna in our heart. So we should relish them and cherish them. And, these become our like, gifts which we can take back from Bhagavatam to our daily life. So thank you for writing that. And now that becomes your property, what you just shared. Okay, Ramesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I just wrote some paragraph, some thoughts which came to me. So importance of prayer to the Lord, who is the most powerful and is the cause of all causes. Earlier classes, we heard the lesson to be learned about how to react to situations. In case of Ashwatthama, he released Brahmastra before even thinking about anything. In case of Arjuna, he first prayed to the Lord and then he told him about the weapon which is approaching him. That he took a moment to purify and dedicated it to the Lord before releasing or retrieving the Brahmastra. These purports clearly establish the position of nature and politicians. All are dependent on the Lord. Very nice point about the jivas can only desire. The Lord is the one who fulfills the desire. And the biggest, always pray prior to doing any work. That is the biggest takeaway for me, is to always pray prior to doing any work and offer the same to the Lord. Start by praising the Lord. Even that was one point we heard in the earlier classes, that even Arjuna, when the weapon was approaching him, he first praised the Lord. He took time to praise the Lord, and then only he even told about the problem to the Lord. So that should be our way. We should, like, even for the matter I wrote about the gopis, never used to tell Krishna about the present problem. Like the Govardhan or the. So they always used to recollect all the past instances when the Lord had saved them. So these are some of the points that you have written. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for sharing your heart. Okay, who would like to go next? Charuta Mataji.
Okay, Prabhu. Prabhu, I typed on the phone because I was on the go. My dog started crying, so I needed to let her out, and I did not use the entire time. But in the last 2 minutes, I wrote, never act on an impulse. Take informed decision and act only after consulting the Paramatma. Although the material or natural laws exist, they need to be sanctioned by the Supreme Personality. Sometimes we need to counteract an energy as needed, but only after instructed by the Supreme. We are at the conditioned Jiva Tattva level, whereas the Supreme is on the highest Vishnu Tattva level, hence his emotions are different from ours, and he is our best well-wisher based on all our lives so far. And everything that happens is a combination of what we desire versus what we deserve.
Wow, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for telling that. Okay, Basanta Mataji.
I don't know if she'll be able to. I think she's cooking Rajma.
Sorry, Prabhu, I'm cooking in the temple for Krishna, so I didn't take any notes. I'm just listening.
You want to share something? Nobody's allowed to go without saying something.
That is Krishna. Krishna is the supreme, and we have to surrender into him. And then without any prayers to him, we cannot survive. We cannot be successful in anything. So that's what I.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Did you call everybody? Shrikant is done? No, I don't know. Shrikant is still left, isn't it? Shrikant Mataji or Shrikant Prabhu, I don't know who's there.
Yeah, Prabhu. Today is my first day, so I didn't write anything. But I know the story of Ashwatthama. Heard in Telugu Pravachan by Kodeshwar. But I didn't write anything. So I write only this main sloka of Lord Sri Krishna. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata. So the one who protects when demons are arises, right? Since Ashwatthama is like a foolish Brahmana, so without some internal grudge on Pandavas, that's the reason he killed all the Upapandavas of five sons of Upapandavas, right? Then he has cursed, right? Prabhuji, 1,000 years or 2,000 years, he'll be like with the kind of different smell of his body.
Okay. Thank you, Shrikant. I'm amazed that you are here for the first time and you're participating enthusiastically. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. And you're in a very good association, as you can see here, that each of the devotees shared practically a different perspective on this passage we just read. So this shows how much we can learn from a small passage of Bhagavatam and how much variety is there. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And we can end here. Is it okay, Hari Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Siddha Hari Prabhu. Thank you so much for the amazing Srimad Bhagavatam class. I learned so much. I really like this free writing concept. I never thought, I'm like, well, first I'm like, okay, we're just writing what's going to come out. And then when I started thinking, okay, 6 minutes are there, what's going to come out? Then things just started coming out, whatever I remembered, And then so I really like that. I hope we can incorporate that more to our regular program, and then we can and we all as devotees, either personally or together, we can incorporate this just to write whatever we hear. So thank you so much for that gift of the free write. We didn't take questions or answer or anything, but I think as someone has a really burning question, I think we can take one. Is that okay? Does anybody have any
So Hari,
question? Yes,
I had one question for Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, it's a little bit this thing only, nothing too deep. At some one in the beginning, you were mentioning about this sun becoming bigger, and then the whole earth is going to dry up and all those things. And then after some time, he said the whole earth will annihilate. So, Prabhu, I just wanted to check if that is also predicted in our Srimad Bhagavatam, so the timelines are matching, right?
Yeah, that's what Krishna is saying here, that the sun, as the heat was as big as the heat during the time of annihilation, because at that time the sun expands. This is discussed later in Bhagavatam 12th canto, and also is in the other Puranas also, that the sun expands and becomes many times its current size. So the heat is much more, and the earth dries up and gets eaten up by the sun.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
And also this free writing thing, I recently learned it from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu about maybe 3 weeks ago. He did a seminar on journal writing as a way to get deeper into sacred literature. So I've been practicing. Yeah, after I read something, I try to allocate some time to write down and digest and put it on the paper what I've read, and that helps me bring out interesting realizations and also hear from my heart. So it's very helpful,
It's a very interesting, Prabhu, you bring this up, because I've been for last couple of days on SoundCloud. There is a podcast. If you get a chance, please listen. It's same by Chaitanya Prabhu and Jai Jagannath Prabhu.
Yeah.
On converting the chaos into something, that's what they said. And journaling, how through journaling you can convert the chaos. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, you have such amazing realization. Like Preeti Mate shared that pause, pray, and participate. Hari Prabhu shared their interesting points about learning from the life of Brahmana. Alec Prabhu shared his points. So everybody got such unique points coming from your heart. Yes. So each of us, if we write something, it helps a lot in that regard.
Thank you.
So thank you all the dear devotees. We will pause our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'd really like to thank Siddha Hari Prabhu for taking time out and And fortunately and unfortunately, we'll be back in person. Sravanam Saturday will be back in person in August. And fortunately, because we all get to see each other on two-dimensional screens, unfortunately, we won't have speakers from outside. But fortunately, it forces Siddha Hari Prabhu to come to Columbus. So we're very fun. So Siddha Hari Prabhu now has his. Now we have tied him up. And now he's going to come to Columbus. So thank you so much, everybody. And we'll just end with Vaishnava Pranam mantra. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha
Patyanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
His Grace Siddha Hari Prabhu ki
Jai.
Everybody say,
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Hari Bol.
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Siddha Hari Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare